Hello everyone and welcome to this week's watch list preview. Let's take a look at Qs here on the weekly. It doesn't look very good. I'm not saying we're going to continue to the downside, but we're approaching the midway point of the previous month's candle on the Qs. And the SPY, we're actually past the midpoint, getting close to breaking 2-2 down on the month. Not really a good sign. We did bounce here when we went 2 down. We ended up, actually, I think what we did was went 2 up and then 2 down. But this was the last 2 down, true 2 down candle we had. And look how far it dropped. It did bounce, but it dropped down pretty far. We go back here, 2 down here. Look how far it dropped down. Same with this one, 2 down. Pretty big drops after they break the previous month's low. They seem to drop pretty far. So keep that in mind. If you look at the weekly on them, 2 down, 2 weeks in a row on the SPY. Our next level of support, I don't want to call it support, but magnitude would be here at 436, 436.12. If we look at the Qs, same thing on the Qs. We were 3 previous week and 2 down on this week. Next magnitude would be 368.79. So, not trying to predict, but I could easily see some more pullback this week, some more selling. So with that said, let's keep an eye on this, or take a look at this week's watch list. These aren't tickers that I typically play. I've traded UPS quite a bit, Western Digital a little bit. The other ones I haven't really traded a whole lot. But these are inside weeks, so let's take a look at what we have. You see most of them are to the downside. Dick's Sporting Goods could go either way, but let's take a look and look at Match.com first. If we look at Match, look at the yearly, it's at 2 up, but we're looking at a spinning top, which pretty much it basically indicates indecision. When we open, I'd have to look at shorter time frames, but we either opened and pulled back and then shot back up and then pulled back again, or we opened and popped up, then pulled back and then came back. So you could tell that by looking at shorter time frames, but either way, it's a spinning top, which basically means it's lost momentum. If we look at the quarterly, we have a 3 on the quarterly. That means there's a lot of pull in both directions. They're fighting over it. It's not really a momentum on either side, but it just shows there's a lot of activity. Look at the volume bar. A lot of activity trying to fight this thing, trying to get it to go one way or the other. Look at the monthly volume is almost double, and we're only 2/3 of the way through the month, and the monthly volume is almost double the previous month. So there's a lot of activity going on in this thing. It hasn't moved. I don't want to say it hasn't moved a lot because it's had $30 of movement, over $30 of movement for the month, but we're still kind of stuck in this range here. So it is green on the month. It's not a pretty chart, not a pretty candle, but it's green on the month. If you look at the weekly, we did bounce, pretty good size bounce here, but we got in the weekly chart this past week wasn't real strong, and that goes for pretty much the general market. The market just wasn't good last week, but we have a gap here, so I'm looking at a break below 154.71, and then we have a gap fill starting the gap at 153.40, so that's target 1. Target 2 is a gap fill at 148.67. That's what I'm looking at on Match.com. Mondelez, let's take a look at the yearly. We're approaching spinning top territory again. If we start pulling back a little bit, I mean that's pretty close to spinning top right there. Be honest, I don't know the true definition of a spinning top, but that's probably could be considered. I don't know how big the body has to be for a spinning top. That may be too big of a body. I don't know. I'm not real up to speed on the spinning tops, but either way, it's still some indecision there. So that's on the yearly. Quarterly, we started out good. We're losing some momentum here, starting to pull back. On the monthly, we pulled back. We had a 2 down, but we've bounced a little bit. And on the weekly, we started to see a little bit of a bounce here in the weekly. This one, I'm going to be honest with you, I probably won't trade this one just because I'm not used to it. I probably traded it once or twice in my trading career, but I probably won't trade this one. But if you want to trade it, your trigger is going to be a break over 61.44. Target 1 is going to be 61.56, and that's only a 12-cent target, but it gives you kind of a range to set a stop in. That's more or less what that is. I'm not saying take your profits with a 12-cent move. I'm saying that once you break above that, now you have a range here to put your stop in. So if we come down to the daily, target 1, 61.56, target 2, 61.91, target 3, 62.50. There's a little bit of a move here, 5 cents over this one, so I'm not going to worry about that one. And target 4, 63.11. So that's Mondelez. UPS, this one looks like one of my favorite ones for the week. And I'll tell you why here in a second. Not a great candle on the year. It is green. It's 2 up, but it's been pulling back. It's been higher. I don't want to say it's been pulling back because it may have been going up. We'll have to wait till we see the shorter time frames. If I remember right, it's been pulling back quite a bit lately. Quarterly, yeah, we're inside quarter and it's down. Not a good candle on a quarter. The month, 2 down on the month, not looking good. We close, or not close, but we're currently near the low of the month. If we look at the weekly is inside week. Not a pretty looking candle, so I'm looking for a break below 189.67. Target 1 is 188.05. That's a $1.62 magnitude. You could probably make, I don't know, 10% on that move. But again, it's more or less somewhere to put a stop once you break it. Once you get past that, if we go down to the daily chart, we get to the daily chart. Yeah, this is inside month up, which we didn't break, obviously. Target 1 is here, which is, we're into this gap here. You see we had a low here, a low here, and a low here that all kind of coincided. Once we break below that, we have all this range here for gap with nothing. And even if you go down to the, I think it was a 4 hour, still showing a gap. I don't think the 2 hour went back that far. 2 hour didn't go back far enough. But there's not really anything in here to hold this up. So once we get into that gap, break below target 1, we could very easily see a big drop here. It's probably going to depend on what the market does to, the major indexes do. If we see weakness and we break below this and continue to see weakness, I could very easily see this going down to 180. Target 2 is actually 179.85, but I like to take profits before we reach that. So that's what I'm looking at for UPS. Western Digital, I have this one for to the downside again. We have a 2 up on the year, but it's not a pretty candle. On the quarter, we have a 2 down, big red bar in the quarter. Definitely not good looking there. 2 down on the month. We've had several 2 downs in a row on the monthly, so it's not looking good on the month. Weekly, not looking good on the weekly. We had this 2 up here, but besides that, it's all been pretty ugly. So I'm looking for a break below 57.26. Target 1, if you come down to the daily chart, 57.26 is your trigger. Target 1 is going to be 66.43, which is the low of this candle way back here. Target 2 is going to be the low of this candle, 55.12. Target 3 is 52.07. Target 4 is 50.78. Be honest, I probably won't trade this one. Not because it's a bad setup. If it was a bad setup, it wouldn't be in here. I just don't really care for going back this far to find targets. I know algos and stuff would look back and see this kind of stuff, but the typical trader probably isn't. I don't want to say probably isn't, but a lot of them won't go back this far to find targets. So I don't know if I'll trade this one. We'll see. If I do, I'm going to be real conservative with it with tight stops. Dick's Sporting Goods. This is another one I like. Huge on the year. Huge up. Quarterly. Nice on the quarterly. It has been higher, but it's really nice on the quarterly. On the monthly, we have it's not, the month so far hasn't been very pretty. It did poke up and go 2 up, but it's been selling off. If we look at the weekly, we can see that here. We went 2 up 3 weeks ago. We popped above it the following week and then pulled way back, and then we're inside week this past week. What I like about this is we have a huge 3 candle followed by a smaller inside candle. So there's a lot of magnitude on this candle here. So this one could go either direction. If we break to the upside, we're looking at a break over 135.68 for our trigger. If we come down to the daily, here's our trigger here. Target 1, this huge red candle, 141.41. Target 2 is going to be 147.39. Huge movement there. If we go to the downside, we're looking at a break below 128.51 with target 1 at 125.38. That puts us into this gap here on the daily chart. Huge drop down to 116.20. So that's what I'm looking at on there. If we go down to the 60, let's see. I didn't look this far, so let's just take a look. See where those gaps coincide. Even on the 60, there's a gap. So you have a huge gap on the 60. Even if you're looking at the 2 hour, huge gap. 4 hour, huge gap. That gap's there on all time frames. Maybe if you get down to 30 minute, maybe 15 minute, it might not be there. I can't go back that far into 30, but all the major time frames that the big boys will be watching all have this gap. So there's not going to be any support or resistance lines in here. So if we break into that gap and the market shows any weakness, we could very easily see this 116. So that's what I'm looking at for Dick's. Could go either direction. LULU's the last one on the chart. You look at the year, been great on the year. Quarter's been great. The month has been a little bit of both. It dropped, it pulled back and popped up. Whichever it did first, I don't know yet with this based on this chart, on the monthly chart. But big 3 candle, big outside candle, which is good. We go down to the weekly, and we were inside on the week. Not quite a hammer candle. That's probably more of a dragonfly doji. But we're looking for a break above 432.74. Now we don't have a lot of magnitude to this one at 430.422. We're only looking at $1.50 move. But a lot of times when you have an inside candle with an outside candle behind it, you can look for magnitude here. And if you go back through and look, you'll see it. You'll see it quite a bit. When it breaks, whichever direction it breaks, to be conservative, look at the body of the candle. You'll generally get a move the whole size of this candle, but to be conservative, I take the body. So at 395 to 425, looking at $30 body here. Add $30 to the top of this inside candle, put you at 462. I I know 460 is going to be a mental number, so I just put it right a little bit below that. 459.74 in that range would be target 2. What I would do, I know that's a big move. What I would do is I would be watching this on maybe the daily or the 2 or 4 hour and look for a reversal candle. If you see a 2 down, maybe a 3, something that opens up, comes way up and then starts pulling back. When it gets halfway halfway through the previous body, get out. Look for something like that for a stop. Your broadening formations aren't really going to be as much of a target when you get up in this range because you're above them. So I wouldn't really go off of that. And if you look at your moving averages, you could probably go down to the daily and see this daily will move up pretty quick. You could possibly use a moving average as a stop. But I think in this scenario with such a big move, I'd be looking, obviously you don't want to wait for a reversal on a weekly candle because that reversal could come way down here and then you lose money. Daily depends on how big the candle, if we open up here tomorrow and we go way up to here, on the daily, we open up and maybe we come up to here, we open here, come up to here. You could set this as your stop, which would basically be break even. Maybe we have a 2 up, followed by another 2 up, followed by another 2 up. Maybe Wednesday, the opening of Wednesday's candles here, set your stop there. If Thursday we pop up here and then start pulling back, you're stopped out with a $15, $20 profit. So that's how I would play that. So that's it for this week. Hope this video wasn't too long. Hope it's better than last week's results. Last week's I know wasn't very good. I know it was a rough week last week. A lot of people I talked to had trouble last week. Just not much follow through, a lot of chop, and that's kind of expected on options. Options expiration week. You get market makers trying to pin some numbers and. You get a lot of chop. So hopefully we're past that for this week. I know most of the earnings are out of the way. Almost all the earnings are out of the way. Options expirations out of the way. Hopefully we don't get too many news events that affect too much, and we can get back to trading these charts and let them do what they do. So again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later on towards the end of the week with a review video, and hopefully it's a good one. Hopefully every one of these works out. Well, obviously Dick's isn't going to work out both ways because I have it set for both directions. I'm not saying it could go an outside candle and trigger both, but that's not how I trade these. So I'd trade one or the other, and if it does come back and break the other direction, I probably wouldn't trade it. So anyway, thanks for watching, and have a great week, and I'll see you guys at the end of the week. Thanks. Bye.